What's happening, everybody?
Nice. That was good. I like that.
Yeah.
It's a good little jam.
It's a good jam. Eric probably doesn't know that jam because he's
never heard it. I bet.
Yeah.
I've heard it a few times.
What's that song? Hi, guys. Welcome. Welcome, everybody.
Howdy.
Another edition of Wasted Pitch.
No. Good afternoon, Wastoids. No, nothing.
I forgot about that.
You already see it didn't stick.
Well, I don't know. We just got to keep with it. Keep at it. Might stick.
Okay, here, check this out. A couple questions for you guys to jump right into this. Are we cool? Let's jump right in. Okay, so the one thing baseball has kind of forgotten over the years, except for one person that the moment I say this, you'll be like, oh yeah, well, that guy. But the one thing baseball has kind of forgotten is the team captain.
Mm-hmm. True.
Obviously, when you think of team captain in baseball, you're going to think Derek Jeter. He's America's team captain, really. Let's get right down to business. Yeah,
what?
Kind of. Exactly.
Who says that?
Well, America says that.
Do they?
America does.
I don't.
Well, my question for you, Nick.
Okay.
Not my captain.
How many, and hopefully who, team captains has the Kansas City Royals had?
God.
How many, or who, and who team captains has the Royals had?
I don't think they've had that many. I think they just named Salvador Perez their team captain recently.
This is true. Crazy that it took them so long to do that. That's kind of bizarre.
I don't know the number that they've had, but they don't. Baseball is weird. They don't have to have a team captain, correct?
Right.
No,
Correct.
They don't have to. But I mean, it's always kind of nice to have that that one veteran.
Yeah. I have no idea how many they've had, to be honest with you.
4. Can you guess who over the years? Take some guesses.
George Brett.
He was the first one, and he was also the first one, not until 1989, 89 to 93, but he was co-captain. Who do you think he was co-captain with? Same years. Oh, a little bit shorter time.
Bo Jackson.
Wrong. Frank White.
Oh, Frank White. Okay.
And then, of course, 2003, 2007, they had another one.
2003 to 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
The glory years. I have no idea who that would be.
Mr. Mike Sweeney.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I bet the other one is Alex Gordon.
No, it's just those 4.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, the co-captain counted it. Okay, got it.
Yeah. How did Gordon not become a team captain at some point?
I don't know. How did they not have a team captain when they had their best years of baseball? Whatever.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
All right, Eric. How many team captains do you think?
I only know one, but I'm going to say 3.
Wrong. 17.
17? Wow.
And most of them obviously were like, early 1900s.
Right.
They were kind of naming them on pretty much most every single year. Harry Lord, Deacon McGuire, Jake Stahl, Jack Berry.
I didn't realize captains went that far back. Yeah.
Yeah, totally that far back. But 1925 to 45 for 20 years, Jimmy Fox.
Okay. All right.
Kind of crazy. Of course, Carl Yastrzemski.
Yep. That was going to be one of my guesses.
He was like 22 years.
Yeah.
Jim Rice.
Yep.
And the most recent, from 97 to 2011?
Veritek.
Of course.
Yep.
And
they haven't had one since then?
No. And they've won the series how many times since then?
Just once, right?
Once Veritek was twice, right?
Didn't they win like after 2000? They won in like 2018 or 2013. Yeah. Didn't they win a couple times in there?
Well, they won it in 18. I know that for sure. I don't know when.
18, 12.
I'm going to say 13. I think they won it in 13.
Oh, the years run together, folks. 18, 13, 7, 4.
There it is.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good for not winning it for however long
And
it
then
was.
1918.
Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. Guess how many captains the Seattle Mariners have had?
2.
1.
Griffey.
Just 1. Not even Griffey.
Wow.
Right? Not even
Ichiro?
Edgar Martinez. Not even Ichiro.
Whoa.
Who the fuck? Who else have they had?
Well, they've had a lot of people. Randy Johnson, Alex. They even had Veritek for a second. But you know who our team captain was for, I think, 1 year? Mr. Spike Owen. Who holds the record for scoring the most runs, or ties the record for most runs scored in one game, which is a 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go. Little extra baseball love for you.
Okay.
Team captain, not a thing.
That's good to know. What a weird thing. It just seems like a weird cadence that teams have captains. And why wouldn't you either have like a captain every year or have a captain every so often? With baseball being such a data-driven sport and like numerically thinking the way that they are, it seems like they would have, a little bit more structure to how their captains are brought about. But
you would think. But then again, it's like there's also a lot of mediocre to not so good teams, and like, what's the point of having a team captain then? Really,
It also probably plays into contract negotiations. Like, you don't want to give them too much stuff to be like, well, I was captain for 5 years. Like, you should pay me more.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
Speaking of paying more, guys, we are just days away from the 1st of July, which means it's time to celebrate the beloved baseball tradition known as Bobby Bonilla Day. Cue the clapping. Yay! Some of our listeners may be asking, well, what the fuck is Bobby Bonilla Day?
Right.
Don't worry, guys and gals. Wasted Pitch is here to help you celebrate. So Bobby Bonilla, also known as Roberto Martin Antonio Bonilla, in case you guys didn't know.
I didn't.
Is a former major leaguer who played from 1986 to 2001. Spent most of his playing career with the New York Mets. Although he did get some playing time with other teams like the Pirates, the Marlins, the Dodgers, Orioles, and then at the tail end of his career, the Cardinals and Braves. His early career was actually pretty impressive. He was a 4-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger recipient, and was a top candidate for National League MVP during his time with the Pirates. So in 1991, he signed a contract with the Mets that was a 5-year, $29 million deal.
Big money.
Get this. The $6.1 million that he made in 1992 was the single season record for MLB salary.
Wow.
By a margin of $2.3 million.
Wow.
Come a long way, baby.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
I don't know much about Bonilla. Like this is the extent that I know about him is Bobby Bonilla Day. But apparently he got under the skin of some Mets fans in their media. I guess in his introductory press conference, he said things like, "I know you all are going to try, but you're not going to be able to wipe the smile off of my face." And during a game,
pissed people off.
I think so. I think there was some contentious nature with him and the New York media, but that's typical for any athlete in New York. There's usually a love-hate relationship there, as is like with Boston and Philly and those jackasses over on the East Coast.
Yep.
Apparently during a game one season, he called up to the press box from the dugout to complain about an error he had been charged with. He's pissed about that. While he was with the Mets, his production diminished a little bit during his time. And so in 1995, he was acquired by Baltimore and then kind of bounced around the league, like I said, with those other teams, Marlins, Dodgers, ends up coming back to the Mets in 1998. Has kind of a shitty season in 1999. Basically, his tenure there culminated in an incident during the 6th game of the 1999 NLCS, during which the Mets were eliminated by the Braves in 11 innings. But Bonilla was apparently in the clubhouse playing cards with Ricky Henderson during this game.
Nice.
Not surprising there, Mr.
Fucking
Henderson.
Ricky. Yep.
So in 2000, the Mets decided to buy out the remaining $5.9 million that he was owed on his contract. And this is where it gets interesting. And we're getting to the reason why we celebrate Bobby Bonilla Day. So he somehow convinced the Mets to defer his payment until 2011, in which they would subsequently pay him $1.2 million for 25 years. That also included a negotiated 8% interest. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The Mets at the time were heavily invested in a Bernie Madoff account.
Yeah.
Now, if any of you guys don't know who Bernie Madoff is, do yourself a favor, look him up. For those that do know, you've probably figured out by now that the Mets are fucked.
Cash is not available.
Yeah. So they were under the impression that they would receive double-digit returns, as did most of Madoff's clients.
Suckers.
Yeah, and they were thinking that they would actually make a pretty significant profit from this. But as luck would have it, Madoff was full of shit, and he was running a Ponzi scheme. So now the Mets are truly fucked. So now they have to pay Bobby $1.2 million until the year 2035, at which point he's going to be 72 years old.
Good gig if you can get it.
Why he was getting bought out for like $5 or $6 million, and somehow that turned into 25 years of $1 million?
Yep. So
that seems like poor negotiating.
Well, so funny story. Apparently, the inspiration for this deal came from a deal that the Mets offered Brett Saberhagen, former Royal, who then ended up playing for the Mets. He still receives $250,000 a year from the Mets, and that deal is for 25 years, and it started in 2004. So that's kind of where the idea came from for this Bobby Bonilla deal. The reason that the Mets accepted it is because obviously they can hold on to that money, let it sit in this Madoff account, get these returns, and they'll eventually have made more than what they were going to pay him.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that didn't work out, and so now they're stuck paying him $1.2 million every year until he's fucking 72 years old.
That's fantastic.
So every July 1st, we celebrate Bobby Bonilla Day. The Mets especially celebrate the failure of their organization. Apparently, Steve Cohen, the new owner of the Mets, has tried to make it a thing where they actually celebrate Bobby Bonilla Day, where they give away.
Try and make some money.
You might as well get
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Might as well.
It's just one of those blunders that the Mets seem to keep having.
You would think Steve Cohen has enough money to just straight up buy it out and be like, dude, here you go.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't just buy it out. I mean, it's probably in his contract where they can't.
Why would Bonilla want to be bought out?
I mean, he basically doesn't do shit, gets a $1.2 million paycheck until he's 72.
And people still talk about him every year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's hilariously ridiculous.
Yeah, it's got to be the worst contract in sports history. I mean, by far.
I wonder how many other contracts the whole Madoff thing fucked up. I mean, not just the Mets. Were the Yankees involved with him at all a little bit?
I don't know. I didn't see anything about that. I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
There had to have been other major organizations that were involved with his firm.
There was a bunch of movie stars that got screwed over by him too. I know that, but man, that is crazy.
Yeah.
If you Google sports teams Madoff, everything says Mets.
Yeah.
It's just Mets. But he really screwed over the Mets. Even his obituaries, Bernie Madoff, whose Ponzi scheme impacted the New York Mets, dies at 82.
Oh, God.
That's the headline in New York.
Nice.
No, that's the headline on CBS Sports, yeah. Yeah. everything is just Mets. There's no mention of another team.
Wow.
I think it's hilarious.
I love it.
Anyway, happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yay.
Yes. Yay.
Eric.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like you have a story for us today.
Man, do I have a story for you guys.
Fantastic.
You ready for this?
I am. Paul, are you ready?
I am ready. We really need to do story time with Eric as a regular segment. I like this.
Okay.
We got to go way back in time for this one.
How far?
Well, our story begins in 1792.
Oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Wait, what?
How?
Okay.
We gotta put some pieces into motion first.
Okay. The American Revolution.
Yes.
No. Other side. Exeter, a city located in southwest England.
Okay.
A woman by the name of Joanna Southcott left the Church of England and joined the Wesleyans, a Methodist movement. You thought this was going to be all baseball, didn't you?
Man.
Shortly after joining the Wesleyans, she began to believe that she had supernatural gifts and began writing and dictating prophecies in rhyme. She would go on to declare herself as the woman of the apocalypse who was foretold of in the book of Revelation.
Did you say of rhyme? She was rhyming, like telling poems, and this is where rapping began then, potentially?
That's what this is, the beginning of rap.
I like it.
By 1814, Joanna, now 64 years of age, had approximately 100,000 followers and claimed to be pregnant with the new Messiah named Shiloh. She stated that she would give birth to the child on October 19th, but that date came and went with no baby. Instead, it is believed that Southcott had a disorder that made her appear pregnant. A few months later, in December of 1814, Joanna died, but she would not be buried until the following January because her followers kept her body in the belief that she would be raised from the dead.
Wait, hold on. What disorder makes you look like you're pregnant? I mean, come on.
There's a sympathetic pregnancy, something or other that...
This is real? That's a real thing?
Yeah.
That you can,
Yeah.
like...
Isn't it called like a beer belly? Isn't that how that works out?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Fast forward 75 years to the year 1888, at the tail end of the Second Great Awakening. A married Ohio couple named Benjamin and Mary Purnell began listening to a group of preachers spreading the word of James Gershom Jezreel, a believer of Southcott's prophecies. As the Purnells studied Jezreel's writings, they learned of the supposed Messiah, Shiloh. On March 12th, 1895, the Purnells announced that the spirit of Shiloh had joined with them.
Oh, boy.
And the three of them had become a messenger of God.
Oh, boy.
Quote, "I am the seventh messenger," Benjamin shouted during a service with their prayer group. "Fire and brimstone await those who doubt me." They were banished from the group shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, poor attitude, buddy. Poor.
In 1903, the Purnells formed the basis of their new theology and founded the Israelite House of David. Their beliefs included turning over all possessions to the Purnells, not going near a corpse, abstaining from sex, drugs, alcohol, tobacco, meat, and shaving. Their neighbors forced the Purnells out when they did not attend their own 16-year-old daughter's funeral due to their beliefs. They left Ohio and moved to Benton Harbor, Michigan. Benjamin Purnell was able to recruit several hundred members quickly through his powerful oration and his expertise in mass mailing advertising. Quote,
Wait, what?
He mailed out thousands of books and pamphlets to prospective converts in all parts of the world, according to a Chicago Tribune article.
Oh, so that shit's been going on for years then.
Yep. By 1907, the House of David owned about 1,000 acres where the colony harvested fruit and cultivated grain. They had their own cannery, carpenter shop, coach factory, tailor shop, and steam laundry. They also owned and operated their own electricity plant, providing lighting to the commune. They formed several brass bands, orchestras, and even created their own zoological garden. Over the years, they would add cottages, hotel rooms, a beer garden, and an amusement park to attract paying tourists. They are also credited with being the inventor of the waffle cone.
Okay.
Wow.
In addition to being a great public speaker, Benjamin Purnell was also a sports enthusiast and encouraged his followers to play sports, especially baseball, to build their physical and spiritual discipline. He also viewed sports as an outlet for their excess energy due to their celibacy. Baseball started as a weekend activity for the group, and their games began to get some attention from nearby towns. By 1913, motivated by the need to make money for the colony, they formed their own team and started to play competitive games. By 1915, they were following a grueling barnstorming schedule and became quite famous, not only for their baseball skills or their religious beliefs, but also because of the appearance of an entire baseball team sporting long flowing hair and beards. The team was described as having, quote, aggressive base running, skillful fielding, and incredible dexterity at bat. And in modern writing has been compared to the Harlem Globetrotters because they would add tricks and stunts to their gameplay.
So really quick, was like the cult leader, the coach and manager of this team as well?
No, from what I understand, he stayed at the commune. They had like a touring manager and all that.
Okay.
They would do things such as hide the ball in their beards, and for at least one game, played an entire inning, or two, depending on the account, riding donkeys.
Wow.
Promotional posters would speak of a, quote, game of pepper, invented by the House of David baseball team, where one player hits brisk grounders and line drives to a group of fielders who are standing about 20 feet away. Whoever catches the ball immediately tosses it to the batter to hit again, thus continuing the game. The House of David would play the pepper game as a warm-up and had a sleight of hand trick-filled version they would play in between innings to entertain the crowd. It was, quote, worth the price of admission alone, one poster exclaimed. According to one published account, the great pepper game delighted the crowd in the seventh when Anderson, Tucker, and Talley put on their brilliant show that has made them internationally famous. They were given a fine ovation from the audience. A lot of these quotes in this story are very old-timey newspaper.
Yeah, you can tell.
That's the newspaper spinning.
Can we get a spinning newspaper montage, please?
Yes.
To this day, the pepper game is a commonly used warm-up tool used by teams at all levels of play, though many fields, including major and minor league stadiums, have prohibited it as it tends to tear up the infield before the game has even started. While traveling across the country, they would also teach locals the fundamentals of the game and are credited with helping to spread baseball across rural America, just as new inventions and farming techniques were being developed and rural Americans found themselves with a new thing called leisure time. At the height of their fame and with no need to pay their players, the team was generating over $10,000 a season, which is close to $500,000 in today's money. But it wasn't all funny.
Where did that money go? Where did it go?
Straight back to... But it wasn't all fun and games. They were serious about being true athletes. They would play around 200 games per season, 2 or 3 games per day, and recorded a 700 winning percentage.
Wow.
They are also credited with being the first team to travel to Florida in the early spring to train before traveling around the country through the summer and fall.
What years again are we talking here, roughly?
We are looking roughly 1915, 1920-ish.
Right. Okay.
Adding to their mystique is that many of the House of David players were foreign-born, having been brought to the U.S. when their parents emigrated to join the colony. Remember, they're not making their own kids. Art Viritz, who is the team's center fielder and lead base stealer, had never seen a baseball before arriving at the colony at age 16 from Australia. Fellow Australian Dave Harrison, the third baseman, was asked how they were able to create such great players. He credited God explaining, quote, I guess it just happened to be, that's all. I suppose it was one of those things that you can't explain. They also played exhibition games against many teams from the Negro Leagues. According to Chris Siriano, a House of David historian, quote, part of their belief was that they could never shave or cut their hair. The major leagues wouldn't let them play Major League Baseball because you had to be clean-shaven. So the Negro leagues invited them to play with them because they couldn't play in the major leagues because they were black. So they teamed up together and they traveled the country in the late 1920s all the way through roughly 1940.
Wow.
The team they traveled with most often was the Kansas City Monarchs. They would pull into town together, but only the House of David's representative, while being white, would go to the baseball manager's office and offer to play an exhibition game. Only once the baseball manager was ready to strike a deal would they reveal the other team was black.
So they would just go around to baseball stadiums and be like, hey, can we play a baseball game?
That's how barnstorming worked. You just pulled up to a baseball field and said, hey, we'll put on a show for you. If you want to sell some tickets, let's do this.
Wow.
Okay. That's cool.
Former House of David player Lloyd Gallagher explained to Chris Siriano their response to any hesitation from the baseball manager. They would say, quote, and this is the player saying this, never before have you even allowed them into your stadium, speaking of the Monarchs, much less your town. But, sir, they're going to put on a show, and after that, we're going to play. And then after the games, they're going to come to the restaurant with us that we always go to. And we've booked rooms in the hotels that we always stay at. And if you can't make all that happen, sir, the next town past yours is on rain check. So it's fine if you can't make all this happen. We're just going to leave and keep going. The room would get silent. Sometimes those managers would throw things. They'd punch the wall, or where they'd scream at us. Or, they'd leave the room and slam the door. We'd just stand there, end quote. Lloyd continued, saying that every time the baseball manager would come back and say that the Monarchs would be allowed to play, but that the House of David should never expect to be invited back again. Goes on, quote, but guess what, Chris? When the Kansas City Monarchs took the field and started playing baseball, their fans were amazed, and they laughed, and they cheered. And at the end of the game, there'd be a huge standing ovation for how awesome these Monarchs were. And he said, guess what, Chris? Next year, they invited us both back. Jacob?
Yeah, starting to like the House of David a little bit more.
Jacob Pomrenke from the Society for American Baseball Research is quoted as saying, while the House of David was not the first white team to play against all black teams, in many cases their games against, say, the Kansas City Monarchs would have been the first time many fans in America had ever seen white and black faces on the same field. Soon, even major leaguers wanted in on the act. Mordecai Brown, Grover Alexander, and even Babe Ruth, while wearing a fake beard, joined the team on the field from time to time. After the Bambino's release from the Yankees in 1934, the House of David were ready to sign him to a contract, but were advised that Ruth's fondness for alcohol, tobacco, and women would be divisive for the team, and the idea was quickly dismissed. But in 1927, the team would have their own issues. Benjamin Purnell stood trial for embezzlement and the sexual assault of several young girls in his commune. He was convicted of fraud, but died a few weeks later and was never prosecuted on the sexual misconduct charges. Following Purnell's death, there was a leadership struggle between his widow, Mary, and Judge T.H. Dewhurst, who had been the head of the commune's board of directors. They splintered into two separate groups, each with their own baseball team. Adding to the confusion was the oversight of not copywriting the House of David name. Shady businessmen began promoting one-off games involving random teams that did not meet the hype of the long-haired originals. One of these splintered teams signed Jackie Mitchell in 1933, a 19-year-old woman, as a pitcher. Jackie had started pitching for different women's teams at the age of 17 and was noted as the second woman to pitch in organized baseball with the Chattanooga Lookouts, including striking out both Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig in an exhibition game against the Yankees. Jackie would travel with the team, chaperoned by her mother, sometimes wearing a fake beard when she took the mound. She was the starting pitcher in an exhibition game against the St. Louis Cardinals, leading to an article stating the, quote, nomadic House of David ball team, beards, girl pitcher and all, came, saw, and conquered the Cardinals 8-6. Little else is recorded of Mitchell's time with the team, though according to reports, she became weary of the team's circus-type antics and being treated as a novelty. She retired from baseball in 1937 to work in her father's optical business in Tennessee. Eventually, the Great Depression and bad business decisions caused both of the teams to fold. In 1953, Mary Purnell died, and without the Purnells and the lack of procreation, the religious group's population declined. The Dollop has an entire episode on the House of David, and we'll have a link in the show notes, along with some photos of these guys. Last year, a documentary, House of David, Life Everlasting, had a very limited release, but is currently available, at least in the U.S., on Amazon, and features many photos and film clips never before seen by the public. Today, the House of David still exists with a website and Facebook group that calls themselves, quote, America's oldest practicing Christian community, but only a handful of members remain. Ron Taylor, one of the last of Mary's followers, is encouraged by that. He notes that the dwindling membership is consistent with Mary's prophecy for the day of judgment. Quote, she said it will come, Taylor explained, when all her followers could fit in a clothes closet. The end.
Wow.
There was what was that movie that we watched that had somebody quote, or somebody said something about House of David?
Yeah. I forget which movie, but that's what...
It wasn't Rugi's Bump. It was
the one before it.
Yeah, it happens every spring. That's what it was.
Yeah.
What are you playing for, House of David or something? It was like that.
That's what clicked for me to do this.
Interesting.
So we'll put lots of stuff in the show notes because you got to see them. I mean, you can do a quick Google image search for them.
I can imagine them. I'm imagining just a team full of like Justin Turners and Alec Bohms playing together.
More hair.
More hair than Alec Bohm.
They never trimmed it. We're talking cavemen.
Oh, wow. These are handsome young men. What are you talking about?
You're just jealous of their beards.
I kind of am.
Like, were they, like, how long are the beards? Like, down to their knees?
Some of them are waist length.
Oh, my God.
I'd say.
But a lot of them are, like, not super obnoxious, but the hair on their head was down to their waist and obnoxious.
Glorious flowing manes.
Yeah.
And did they play in baseball uniforms or
you can buy a House of David replica jersey.
It's that same looks like that same heavy wool.
Yep.
That they did way back in the day.
And they do House of David like all up and down the side of their shirt.
Wow.
I had no idea that this existed.
I didn't either.
It's kind of weird. I mean, I'm sure it's probably not something that MLB talks about since it was never a part of professional baseball in a sense.
But to be like such a pioneer in integrating the sport, that was something I did not know about before researching this.
Do you think the Savannah Bananas are influenced by their globetrotter trickery?
It's got to be. Yeah.
Bit, right?
Maybe this is the new age House of David. Maybe they're under the guise of the Savannah Bananas. What's going on down there in Savannah?
Right. What is the league the Savannah Bananas are in? Not to change the subject or anything.
They're not in the league.
They're not.
No, they just invite. Well, they have part of the organization has a team that they play.
Yeah.
But they also do barnstorming. They'll go to towns and play, the college team or the minor league team or.
They've been going on like a tour this year, playing a bunch of teams. In fact, they played the Kansas City Monarchs recently.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah. The Monarchs are now like a Frontier League team or something like that. They used to be the T-Bones. Now they're the Kansas City Monarchs. And they wear like the old like Kansas City Monarchs logo and stuff.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, they get more attendance than the Royals do.
Well,
unsurprisingly.
I believe it.
Probably way better.
They probably are. They should play the Royals.
They should just be the Royals. That's actually, swap. Good stuff, Eric.
Thanks, sir.
I like it.
I think that'll do it. Quick episode today.
Yeah, but informative.
4th of July is coming up.
Yep.
All-Star game's coming up. All-Star break is coming up.
Yep.
Not a lot going on.
Should we do a little update on like our predictions of records come All-Star break time or next week?
Yeah, I think right after, or maybe our next episode, we'll do a little update on our predictions.
Right.
I have a feeling that they're way off. I know yours is way off, Paul.
Man,
the 96 win Mariners.
Maybe for one team, but I don't know about those other two.
The Royals, it's pretty spot on because they're right on track for the 38 wins that you predicted them to have.
So that's hilarious.
Yeah. But we'll be back in a couple of weeks after the All-Star break. Wait, when is the All-Star break?
The 11th. or something.
Okay, no, we'll be back before the All-Star break. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. We will see you guys next time.
Goodbye, wastoids.
Bye.
Goodbye, wastoids.